If you've ever struggled with writing clean, reusable Python code, you're not alone. Understanding functions and arguments is key to solving that, and that's exactly what we'll cover in today's video. Functions and arguments are the building blocks that will help you write cleaner, smarter, and more powerful code. So by the end of this session, you'll feel confident creating your own functions and using arguments to make your programs dynamic. But before we jump in, I want to invite you to our free AI, machine learning, and generative AI masterclass, where we share a proven 3-step framework to help you crack AI and generative AI jobs, paying over $250,000. We have helped so many learners land their dream jobs in AI, machine learning, and generative AI fields. So if you want to be one of them, register right now. You can find the course link in the description below. So let's get started.
Okay, now what is a function? Just to keep it simple, I'll just revise the content of function and then we will go ahead and look into other concepts that are required to be covered. Okay, so what is a function? The first thing, if you remember last time we did cover, so when we say function, function is basically a term used in computer engineering, or you can say programming, wherein you want to go ahead and perform the task. So whenever you want to perform the task, you call that kind of a thing as a function. So suppose if I want to perform multiple tasks, okay, just to give an example, suppose if I want to go ahead and do a plus b, a minus b, okay, a into b, and suppose I also want to divide a by b, and I also want to get remainder of when a is divided by b. Suppose I want to go ahead and perform all these tasks together, okay, rather than calling them separately, okay, like a plus b, a minus b, I can go ahead and loop them inside a function. Okay, so I can define a function in uh, Python. To define the function, we do make use of def if you want. Okay, so just to keep it simple, we can define the function. Once the function has been defined, we can call the function. Whenever we will call the function, it will automatically go ahead and perform the tasks that are defined within the function. Let me just take you through this concept of function, and for that I'll just keep it simple. Again, if you want to perform tasks, multiple tasks, you can go ahead and define function in Python. If you want to define function, you make use of the keyword def, and then you can give a name to the function. And if you want to pass the parameter, you can pass the parameter. You can create a function without parameters also, but it's better to create a function with parameter if you want to pass the parameter. Right now, just for an example, suppose if I want to greet Alice, okay, and when I want to greet Alice, I want to say hello, and then I want to use the name of Alice, okay. Or suppose if I want to greet Khan, or if I want to go ahead and greet Gauri, okay. So for that, what I can do, suppose here, this is how the body of function works like. You need to define the function. This is the code block, and you need to give some indentation, and then whatever task you want to perform, you can perform. So if I can ask you here, what is the task that we are performing right now here? We are just asking to this function to go ahead and print the name with the string hello. I hope everyone is okay with what I'm saying. That makes sense. So just keeping it simple right now. So for this, we do have a, if you remember, we do have a notebook. So let me just take you through this notebook. So what are we doing here right now? You can see I've just given a name to my function. This is how you define the function. You use the keyword def, then you give a name to your function, and then you use parentheses. Okay. And then you go ahead and write whatever task you want to perform. So right now my task is just to print a function. Suppose. Okay, so here I told you, you can do a plus b, a minus b, whatever you want to go ahead and do, you can do right here. So right now, suppose I just have one piece of thing that I want to perform. What is the task? I want to print this line. So I'll just go ahead. Let me just clean my kernel, restart, and let us just take it. So first I'm running this piece. Now this has got executed. Now the moment it has got executed, now I can call the function with parentheses. Whenever I am going to call this, it will automatically go ahead and do the task that is associated within this block. Okay, now just to keep it simple, here you can see I have defined function to multiply two number. So if I want to multiply two number, I'll just keep it simple. What are we going to do? I'll just give a keyword def, I'll give a space, then whatever I want to do, I can give any name. Okay, so suppose I'm going to say multiply two numbers. Okay, then I can use parenthesis, colon, then I can use indentation. And suppose I want to go ahead and multiply two numbers. So I need to go ahead and define number. So now here you can see, suppose I want to multiply two number one and number two. So I need to pass those numbers here as a parameter. I just need to define the variable. You can even pass the value, guys. We will look into that right now. I'm just passing suppose number one and number two here. So we can pass the parameter here. And now I can, what do I want to do to this number? So here I can say number 1 into number 2. And suppose, just to keep it simple, I'm storing it in a variable called as result. Okay, so I'm calling it as a R. Now, once this is done, do remember, whenever you have an argument, okay, or you can say whenever you have a parameter, you need to return the result. What is going to happen? Whatever is happening with this argument, you need to return it back to the function. That is your aim. Okay, so always remember, whenever you have an argument, you will return the result back to the function, so that whenever the person calls this function, it will automatically go ahead and return the result to the person. Okay, so right now I've just defined a function. Here you can see number 1 and number 2, and I'm returning what? Result. Result is a multiplication of number 1 and number 2. Now, once this is done, here you can see what I'm doing. Number 1, 12, number 2, 12, and I'm going ahead and specifying multiply. I'm calling this function. Okay, so here you can see I'm calling this function. What is the function? Number 1 comma number 2, right? Once I call this, I can go ahead and print the result. So when I'm going to print, it is going to go ahead and give me 144. Is it okay? Now, similarly, if you want to take dynamic input into this function, this is the function. And in this function, I want to take dynamic input. Suppose I want to take an input as integer, or I want to take input as float. I can make use of the keyword. Okay. So here you can see, I can say int, then I can specify that I'm going to take dynamic input in the console, or you can say in the application. So here I am specifying, please enter the first number for the user to understand. Okay, then I'm saying please enter the second number, that only user will be able to read, right? So if I run this, here you can see number 1, number 2, what it is going to do, this multiply. You do know that multiply is going to multiply number 1 and number 2 and return the result back. Okay, so if I run this, the moment I run, can you see here we are getting please enter the first number. Let me just put something 23. Please enter the second number. Let me put something. Okay, the moment I hit enter, this two value, okay, is going to return back the result to the system. So here you can see I've got the multiplication. I hope that's making sense. Just keeping it simple and very easy for you to go ahead and take the exercise. We will look into high level content also, the basic high level content, so that you can understand the fundamentals of machine learning. This all things will be required. Let me just take you ahead. I think we have covered the concept of local and global variable, but still I'll just take you ahead. Right now, I'll just ask all of you. So I'm just asking, how many tasks am I defining in my function that you can see on the screen? How many tasks am I defining here? First is, we are just defining the variable, right? So what is the task? What do we want to perform? So if you can see, these are the tasks that we are performing, right? Okay. Now let me just take it ahead. So here you can see the variable 1 is equal to 10. And then I have defined variable 2 also outside the function. This is not under the indentation. Do remember, this is where the moment you come out of indentation, here you have come out of indentation, that means your function has completed here. Okay. Now what are you doing here? You are going ahead and printing two things, variable 1 and variable 2. But if you see, variable 1 is inside the function and variable 2 is outside the function. So if you are passing two variable, okay, if you are passing two variable, and if any one of the variable is inside the function, that is called as local variable. If the variable is outside the function, that will be called as global variable. Global variable can be called inside the function. Local variable cannot be called outside the function. Simple. I'll just run this piece of code, and now let me call the function. So the first variable inside function shall be able to give me a result of var1. Okay, variable 2 inside my function, if I try, okay, though it is not inside, to be very frank, this is variable 2. Yes, I am calling inside my function, right? Okay, so if I go ahead and check, I will be able to get the result for this also. Why I'm getting the result? Because the reason is because this is a global variable. Now let me just take it ahead. If I put here, suppose variable 2 is equal to, suppose variable 2 is equal to 100. Now tell me what will get printed for variable 2. Will it print 20 or will it print 100? It will print 100 because this is going to execute the task here itself. Okay, it will not look into any other variable outside this, and automatically it will give the preference of the function that is defined the variable that is defined within the function. So here, if I run this piece, now you can see it is able to supersede that value and give us the information of 100. So if I now print variable 2, variable 1 outside the function, this is outside, these two lines were inside the function. Now let me remove this. Let me just remove this, run this again, run this again. So these two things were defined inside the function. Now, right now, I'm just printing one line. I'm not calling the function here. Here you can see I was calling the function. Now I'm asking, print the value of variable one. Now, variable one is inside the function, yes or no? So if it is inside the function, it should not work outside the function. Can you see? Variable one is not defined. Is it fine? But if I print variable 2, will I get the result or not? Yes. So now if I print variable 2, you can see that we were able to get the result. That's the simple thing. Okay. Now we need to understand arguments. So these variables are basically called as arguments. We have already looked into arguments. Okay. Now here you can see this variable is taking two arguments or two parameters. Now I'm just printing. This is the task. One task, two tasks. Then I'm printing result. I'm doing the third task, then fourth task, and then I'm returning the result. Now what I'm doing here is I just want you to understand there are two variables, var1 and var2, and I'm saying I want to add var1 and var2, and then I want to output the result, or you can say I want to print the result. So let me just run this piece of code. Now let me define. Here you can see var1 and var2. Now I'm defining var1 and var2, and now I can use it anywhere, right? So if I run this, this is basically, we have already seen this, but just to help you understand, this is what we call argument. Okay, so the point is calling the function which does the task as defined in the function. Okay, so we are calling the function and it is doing the task of taking the value of the argument and giving the result. Now there is one important thing that we need to check. Some variables can be defined a default argument. So here you can see variable 3, variable 4 is already being defined as 0. Now here I am defining variable 3, and now if I call the function, if I call this, you can say, if I call this variable, let me just show you. Here you can see variable 1 is 10, which is absolutely correct. Sorry, variable 1 I have written. I can put it. Variable 3 is 10. Variable 4 we need to check. So let me just change the syntax also. So variable 3 is 10, which is correct. Variable 4 is how much? 0, which was already defined. So if you see here, when I'm calling this function, I am not at all defining the value of variable 4. You remember whenever we used to call the function, we had to pass the argument, right? We had to pass the argument. So now what is happening? We are not passing the argument because the argument is already been passed as a default argument. Now, if I change here, let me just put variable 4. Let me just put variable 4 is equal to variable 3 is 10. Let me put 15. Now, will this work or not? Variable 4, if I change the space, this will also work. Now it will change the value from 0 to how much? 15. So if you want to pass, you can pass. But suppose if you did not pass the value, let me just put it this way. I'll just put it here 0. And let me just remove it from here. Okay. If I run this, it will automatically take the default. Is it fine? So if you want, you can pass the default value. If you want to change the value, you can even go ahead and do that. Just helping you understand that you can play with the value. Okay, you can pass it at the start, or if you want to pass it afterwards also, you can pass it afterwards. You can define it here, you can pass it here. Basically everything means the one and the same. Now this is what I wanted to show. So this is what we have executed. We can change the value. I told variable 4 is equal to 0, and if I define variable 4 is equal to 100 here or here, basically it will mean one and the same. Okay, now use case of function, if we can see. Now just to keep it simple, here you can see we are just going ahead and doing some work. We are defining one function. What is the function? Principal, rate and time, and we are saying return the value of principal into rate into time divided by 100 whenever someone is going to calculate the interest. Okay, then we are saying validate the account, for which we are passing two variables, account number and pin. We are defining ourselves. We can even take it as a user input. Okay, so we are saying account number is this, pin is this. If someone enters this two value correct, can you see if account number is equal to valid account? Okay, and if pin is equal to valid pin. So just to keep it simple, here we are saying if this number is equal to this, and if this number is equal to this, then you can go ahead and say that the account is validated. Similarly, we have done for transfer money. If amount is less than 0, then say amount must be positive, return this. If the amount is anything apart from less than 0 or equal to 0, that means positive, then you can say amount has been transferred with 2 decimal. This is more of 2 decimal. Okay, so if you want to pass the variable dynamically, you can make use of dollar symbol, and you can make use of parenthesis. And if you want a decimal, suppose if someone is going to put an amount of 88.889, it will automatically reduce it to 2 decimal and give us the you can say the message, print the statement. Okay, similarly, if I want to check the balance, I can do that. If I want to calculate EMI, again you can see I am checking the balance. If someone checks the balance, right now the balance is 5,000. Okay, for this account. Okay, and if there is something else, it will say account not found if these two numbers are not there. Okay, let me just copy this. So here you can see, just to keep it simple, if I run this piece of code right now, what I'm saying, just see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm saying calculate interest, and what am I passing in this variable? Can you see what it is expecting? Principal, rate, and time. So this is what we are passing. Principal is this, the principal amount, this is the rate, and this is the time. Account validity, what is it expecting? Two numbers. What is it expecting actually? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0. And what is the pin that it is expecting, guys? 1 2 3 4. So if I put these two values correctly, it will automatically say that the account is valid. Let me just put 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so if I put 1 2 3 4 5, will it say valid or invalid? It will say invalid, right? Similarly, transfer amount, transfer money. So if these two, what it is expecting, if you see the sender account, receiver account, and the amount. So if I put it exactly correct, if I put anything less than 0, let me just put it minus 12, and let us just check this out. And here you can see this is what it is returning. Amount must be positive. Simple. Just helping you understand how a function basically functions to call multiple things. Okay. Now, if I want to check balance for 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0, it will give the balance. There is one more account that we have passed. This is also the account, right? Let me just change. Now what will it display as a balance? One, I think 10,000. Similarly, if you want to calculate EMI, this is the formula. We have written the formula. Can you see? Monthly rate first we have written, then principal into monthly rate into 1 plus monthly rate divided whatever is there we have just specified. We just need to specify the value, and it will automatically go ahead and do the task for us. Done. Okay. Now, one more important thing, amount transferred, if you can see, I told you it will automatically give you 2 decimals. Okay, amount transferred. Okay. Why is it going to give you 2 decimals? Because we have specified it will be 2 decimals. Okay, so if amount is actually we are passing the amount here, right? What is the amount that we are passing? If I show you here, the amount that we are passing here is 1 2. I think this is the transfer amount, right? 1 2 3. Let me just put something else. Let me just put more decimals, something more than this. And you will see that it will return the result in 2 decimals only. Can you see? It will always return the result in 2 decimal, because here we have mentioned 2.2 fraction up to 2 decimal. Okay. Now let us just take a use condition with dynamic input. So first we are defining the function of calculating interest. Then we are defining a function of validating account. Then we are defining a function of transferring amount. Okay. Then we are defining a function of checking the balance. Then we are defining the function of calculating EMI. So earlier we were passing everything as a static input. Everyone agrees? This was static input. Now what if I want to pass dynamic input? So first I am creating a dashboard. Okay. Choose an operation, calculate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this, here I am saying enter your choice. And here, once I enter the choice, here I am saying if choice is equal to 1, what I'm saying, if choice is equal to 1, here I'm automatically trying to map. If someone says 1, I want to go ahead and ask for principal amount, interest rate. Can you see I'm using float, float, float? So if you remember the formula for this, what was the formula? Principal amount, rate, and time. So we are taking this to input, and then we are going ahead and calculating using the formula. Is it fine, guys? Function. So how many choices? 5. So we can put any number. But logically, if someone is entering 5, can you see choice? Is it fine, guys? Everyone? So if someone is entering, that should automatically match to this. This is what we are saying. So if I run this, just see what we are asking. Calculate interest, validate account, transfer money, check balance, and calculate money. Suppose if you want to go ahead and calculate interest, you can put 1. The moment you put 1, what is getting called? Enter the principal amount. So suppose I want to enter a principal amount of 1800. Then it is saying enter the interest rate. I'll say 3%. And now it is saying how many years? I'll just say 130 years. And now you can see this is the interest that I'm able to get. Is it okay? Based on the formula. Now this is done. If I rerun it again, we could have put it in loop. Okay. Now if I rerun it again, suppose if I want to check balance, I'll go for 4. Enter account number. This I can enter. I just need to check. Can we enter our own account number? Account number. I think we can enter our own account number. Yeah. Yeah. Account number should. I think it should match, right? Let me just check. Account number should be this only, right? So let us just check the account number. Can we enter anything else? Okay, can you see balance account not found? I hope you're getting, guys. If I enter 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0, now it is, I think it is saying invalid choice. Let me just check what is my account number. I think I made a mess. Copy, let me run. Invalid choice, sorry, it's a choice, right? So now what do I want to do? I want to transfer the money, right? So I'll go for 3. Now it is saying a sender account number, receiver account number. Let me just try something. Okay, and then it is saying transfer the amount. Let me just pass, and now it is say transfer the amount. So I think we can enter anything. Transfer the amount from this to this. Just to help you understand, we are able to go ahead and understand function. Is it making sense, guys? What is function, everyone? Shall we move ahead? Just to keep it simple, what is a function? What does a function do in a basic sense? In general terms, you can say it performs tasks for us. Whatever task you want to do via the programming, you go ahead and call it within the code of a block of code, which is called as function.
So that's it for today's session on functions and arguments. I hope you found it helpful and feel more confident writing reusable codes in Python. Also, if you want to take your career to the next level in AI, ML, or generative AI, don't forget to check out our free masterclass. You can find it in the description box below. Also, if you like this video, make sure to subscribe our channel and check out our previous videos on Python series or our next video here. Thanks for watching.